Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Letter. In the last episode, Ashton went to the mansion. He fell down in the dungeon. I was worried he was locked in the cell. I'm like, uh-oh.
I think the thing I've learned the most in this game is don't ever have a wine cellar.
Yeah.
They're creepy.
It's true. We found Marianne.
Which is good.
Which is good. She did not die.
Been worried about her for the last 20 hours.
Yeah. Wait, 20.
Wasn't she like the second or the third character we did?
Oh, yeah.
So like 10, 15 hours of story later?
Yeah. I was really worried that we had done something that got her killed.
No, I figured somebody had to go rescue her.
Yeah. All right. Slowly, I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint old scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist, as if to keep it from hurting myself. In my hand, a shard. Blood drips from where it has cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible even. There is pain, however, a different kind, an ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but from every single word has hit. When I glance up at McCullough, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it. No matter what happens, don't do what it says. It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. She breathes a sigh, heavy. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
She walks off without another comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. On the ground they lie, lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults, but even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
You're useless.
Going to die, and you are going to die alone.
Fear. One that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It is even locked, probably left open when the Wrights ask for some midnight snack.
I was kind of hoping we'd find Johans in the kitchen, like hand on his hip, like tapping his foot.
What is going on? You know what's weird though? Wasn't Marianne was supposed to be up in like 5 minutes? Remember?
Nobody checked on her.
Nobody checked on her.
Or he went down and looked and was like, "Oh no,
oh, she's not there. Must have left." What? I'd be curious to see. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself up and help McCullough up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master, or doing some extra late-night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants, no anyone. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently, I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we simply revel in the little victories. There are great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly a sob.
Oh,
crap. Ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, McCullough immediately tenses. Her eyes go wide as she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she has the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. Makes sense of the 3 or more days without proper food or water. And it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She's a liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
McCullough still appears as if she's about to argue, so instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. A standard issue for every member of Luxborn's police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at it as if I just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you, but if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you.
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic with my chances. McCullough seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest that has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who this is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to, the entire place just feels empty. Odd when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there'll be one or two roaming about for some late-night chores, or someone seeking out whoever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
They have security posted inside as well?
Unless their security means the butler, though I doubt Scumbag's that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Probably more than his own wife. And the thing he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who'll do anything to keep himself safe.
I wonder
Alive.
what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCullough's help. Next to the people who owns this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweigh the pros. She's better off somewhere where a quick exit's in sight. With no tag along, I only have to worry about myself, watch my back. Selfish, I know.
Unnecessary.
In the same manner, this whole plan is no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide when the house's layout is fairly simple, almost mirrored with only a few modifications in the room. Although I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's ins and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, it shouldn't be hard to find my way around. After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me, where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure if I should be trusting what I'm hearing. But with the whole house somehow seemingly devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
I just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
But nothing's ever that simple, is it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural. Nope. Because as soon as my feet cross into the next room, something shifts.
Ooh, that's a lot of blood.
I wish we hadn't gone on our own. In a flash, nearly without fanfare, it happens in the blink of an eye. I almost miss it. One moment, there's red. And the next,
Nothing.
I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant, I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping on the walls, none trailing down the stairs or pooled on the floor, no eyes watching my every moment. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with the voice.
Mother,
Desperate.
where are you, Mother?
Pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
Coming
It
from the
almost
same...
sounds like Hannah.
I wonder. Coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from, upstairs. The place is not entirely empty then. A better question now is who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide nor hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on the edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Maybe the wife, though one can't really tell if it's her the way the walls echo her voice. Nevertheless, it pushes me to move. I hate all the butterflies I'm seeing, because that means we've made choices and, like,
You do
things
realize
are out of
this
our control.
game, it's about choices, right? So no
Yeah.
matter what your choices are, affects
Something happens gonna happen here.
Right. You are crazy, man. There's he sees butterflies out now in like the regular world, and he flips out. Thinking,
It's true. It's like,
"I made
oh
a
god,
life-
what choice did I
I
make?
made a life choice.
How is this going to come back to bite me? I think it's because I assume all my choices are wrong and are going to get me killed.
I'm kind of okay if we get killed at this point.
No, I'll say that for next chapter. Next chapter we can get killed.
That's fine. I like Ash.
Taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, every small corner I pass. As if the house has several eyes watching my every movement. As if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. There it is.
There's the blood again. Hello, laughing crazy thing.
I try to shake it off. No, we're going in that room.
It's the attic.
But the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach. Dread. And it only grows deeper the closer I get to her.
Why are there windows open and it's raining outside?
Yeah.
Isn't Hana's room at this end of this hall too? The door
It's
that's
on
open?
the... I think it's the door to the... No, I think it's the door to the right. The first one.
It's not the one that's creaked open?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't think they ever really explained it. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows, nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for scumbags to simply show up. I don't get too far down that train of thought. Abruptly, the cries stop, replacing it with...
She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me. She won't leave, Mother. Mother. I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
That can't be good. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. Oh, God. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet's... In no 2 heartbeats. My feet's already moving. My feet's... Alright, whatever. Before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up to me. My hands ready at my holster as I hastily set off for the far side of the hall. One alarm footstep after another while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end and coming from the floor above.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I do not hesitate, moving in despite the lack of light and the steep stairs or the thick layer of dust kicking up with my every step. I pause only a moment upon reaching the top. Then wasting a second, I push the door open. Oh, no.
She looks like the lady from the picture.
Uh-huh. Well, and she's pretty bloody, so I'm assuming that she is going to kill us. She sits in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched, shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she has heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed like I'm standing in a time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
Wails in the Night achievement.
I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please.
Uh-oh.
It still sounds like Hana.
I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I notice the blood on her hands. If it's the same one drenching the whole attic, I'd rather not know. How the whole room has ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even the single human body doesn't have this much blood. So, bodies? The thought sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news, alright, but this is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at the first sight of it, anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here, unmoved by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room, repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. To whom? The mess of parchment she has left on the floor? Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you?
The rest of the question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. But there's little I can do when a well-placed blow to the back of my knees makes me stumble. The momentum alone sends me reeling forward. It barely even registers in my head that the woman's gone and the room's as normal as it can be. Not above the pain suddenly shooting up my side when I hit the floor. I didn't even get a chance to get my bearings back when a hard enough blow to the stomach causes me to buckle down and land heavily on my knees. Gasping, I fumble wildly for my gun. Although before I'm able to turn, level it, and shoot, a hand grabs my wrist and twists it. Hard. A gasp. A grunt. A cry of pain slips past my mouth. The gun falls to the floor with a thunk. As soon as it lands, a foot kicks it out of my reach and then slides uselessly under the bed. Agony suddenly explodes in my chin, jerking loose a sharp cry of pain, and stars fill the edges of my vision.
I have a feeling this is going to be right. This is actually like a person. I have a feeling.
I don't think
The
so.
ghost wouldn't give a shit about a gun.
A brief moment of regret hits me for leaving my taser with McCullough, which It appears like it was a choice that we made when a piece of cloth closes around my neck. Without warning, my attacker pulls tight. I'm left gasping, choking, and clawing for air, blindly reaching behind me as I try to fight him off and loosen the pressure on my neck. Except any sort of movement only causes him to pull it taut.
My, so many rats scurrying about in this mansion lately.
Writes Butler.
Tell
Shit.
me, what did you do with the madam?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did something happen to Hana Wright?
Go! You asshole!
Now, Dummkopf, you're in no position to be rude. Last time
Right,
I
lackey.
checked, I'm not the one breaking into other people's homes. Now answer my question. What did you do with the madam?
The pain rings and resonates through my already sore body. Still, I managed to ride it out and spit a mutinous.
You. Keep that dirty mouth babbling and you're getting a knife in the kidney.
Oh, I like you, Johans.
I can't figure out if he's just protecting the mansion or if he knows what's going on.
I assure you, it will be more painful than this.
He really doesn't need to threaten me by now. It's all too much to bear at this point. My lungs feel like they're burning with the lack of air. Dark spots begin to fill the edges of my vision. Ever so slowly, the world around me dims. My consciousness rapidly slips away from me, and without meaning to...
Get away from him!
Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket of ice, cold water, familiar, too familiar. And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. Oh my god, was that Isabella? Mm-hmm. She shouldn't be here. Immediately, my eyes snap open. Oh no. And right there, right on the attic's doorway stands Isabella of all people. A rolling pin on one hand and a standard issue police taser on the other. My taser. She must have borrowed it from McCullough. Where else could she have gotten one? I doubt she has ever used one even. Hell, the way she holds it right now, the guy can easily disarm her in one hit. But there's something in her eyes. Although there's a look of fear in them and her hand starts to shake, she keeps the weapon trained and pointed at Scumbag's lackey. Untrained or not, she does not plan to leave here without putting up a fight, it seems. Admirable, really, but it's just not something we need right now. I need her to be away from here. I need her safe. But the chance of that happening grows slim with every laughter that slips from him.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. The Bratwurst won't be pleased with the number of bodies we have to dispose of today, you know. Tell me, how many of you are there? So I can prepare the proper number of bags.
Damn it. What the fuck is going on? Why is she here in the first place? Did she follow after me? Who else came with her? Zach? Rebecca? Are they all here? Panic surges within me. She knows how bad the situation is, but did she really have to run in here and expose herself like that? Does she even know how to use a taser? For fuck's sake, more than worrying for my life, it's her I'm concerned about. Getting strangled, dying by choking isn't part of the plan, but her following me here isn't either. This is why I prefer to do things alone. This is why I'd rather be the only one to take the consequences.
I can't figure out if Johans and Scumbag are like have their own dirty mob bullshit happening.
That's
in the
what I
background,
think.
And then we've got this ghost thing going on.
That's what I think. I think that like this has like nothing to do with the ghost. I don't even want to think about what this bastard might do to her after he's done with me. Though my voice comes off nearly a croak, I try to tell her as much. She has to leave. Stay far away from here and these people.
Don't! Damn it, Isabella! Get out of here!
Another bout of pain erupts from my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood in my tongue as I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Get out! 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 Val!
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you here!
He laughs, too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears in spite of the warmth in them sends chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. He won't
I'd
hesitate.
follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy? Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
There's a moment of silence. Fuck, I can barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though I don't exactly understand what's happening, Isabella shouts. Not a cry of pain, not a yell of panic, but one that's resolute, firm, perhaps in a tone that's leagues fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me! Ashton, duck!
I do. More out of instinct and a desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The telltale sound of the taser being discharged resounds through the room. The air crackles. Something whizzes by almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt connecting solidly with another object. The next thing I know, the towel strangling me has started to loosen. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air.
Man, I like the butler.
Yeah, I know. I'm so...
I knew, you know what's so funny? I'm like, he's totally in on this. I got this like in the middle of this when they started talking about Luke Wright, and you're like, maybe he's not really guilty. And I'm like, well, if he is, this is his mop cleanup guy.
I'm so sad. That might be the most depressing thing that's happened all game. From my peripheral, though the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles. He spasms once. Then without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by 50,000 volts of electricity and a fucking rolling pin.
Yeah, rolling pin.
He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, my oxygen-deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form.
Get out of here.
Yeah. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. Right next to her trembling hands, both the taser and the rolling pin lie useless and forgotten, with the mood of the room... Well, the room of the
pick
mood
those up.
eases.
Again, there's still scumbag one around.
Yeah. A long, gradual process of the tension lifting. For countless seconds, we remain quiet, with only 4 short gasps and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline to ebb away, and both are breathing to slow. Not a true response by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still the curse, we're still inside the mansion, in imminent danger, we still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere.
I don't care what's going on outside, what's going on inside the house? Sorry.
White and piercing and the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. Yeah, can we do, I'm like, something so interesting is happening, why are we not...
But there's like a beautiful moon outside with the drizzling rain, and it's like a purple color, and it reminded me of a time when I was 6 and there was a purple flower. Sorry.
I stir first, once recovered, having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable, as is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow, I can manage. Retrieving my gun from under the bed is easy. But only with some effort I am able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff on his wrist while fastening the other on the bed frame. That should keep him restrained for a few hours in case he wakes up prematurely.
Well, he's dead now. You're locking him into the room with the crazy chick.
Good.
Yeah.
All through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved since. Her hands still shake and taking in long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any results, spurred by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light shake.
No, we need to go. We can't stay here.
Slowly she turns, staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them with something ineffable. Then without warning, she lifts a hand and slaps me right across the face. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like a fragile glass breaking. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me until my head has already snapped back and my cheek stings with her anger. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards, not fuming though, never fuming, but the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly. A frustration instead of seething rage. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows, and one that the tide subsides. There's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching. Quietly, I brace myself for the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, nearly fading under the sound of the rain still falling fast, if not for the weight in each of her words.
What is wrong with you?
Belle.
If Zach didn't slip up, no one would have known where you went.
Oh, I'm so glad we told Zach where we went.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and...
You almost died! He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died.
Can we have this
Zach to give me
conversation
4
outside the
hours.
house?
That would have been enough time to...
It would have been too late! And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer!
She trails off, drags one indrawn breath after another, a brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolving into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and weary, in her next words there's only certainty.
You count too, you know. When I said, that night when I told you, I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive. We're still here, Ash. You have us.
And once their meaning fall, roar, it does so not with the force of a dam breaking or a raging storm, but with the gentle, steady warmth of a hearth burning, an ember easing slowly, lightly, rising and giving until all that's left is the truth, an understanding. Not alone. Never alone. All right. Now that we've survived our near-death experience, I think that's a good place to leave it.
Sounds good.
I am glad the action's picking up a little bit more.
Me too.
Still think a little bit less on the what's going on outside.
I don't think that's gonna change 20-something hours into this game.
I don't either. But I am glad it's at least being like interspersed with more events. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.